As our trip to Bundaberg nears to a close, Graham and I discuss how nothing worthwhile simply falls in our hands without a cost on the other side. We have to recognize it when what we seek is within our grasp, and at what cost. So, as our trip begins to wind down, and oops, here's our coffee here. We have the flat white. Say hello to the camera.
And the one with lots of shots.
I guess what we have to really reflect on is he making progress? Is the onion beginning to be peeled back? Is he getting in touch with his authentic self? Or is it just a masquerade? Is he just covering up like he has done for all of these years?
What I have learned is that the Yeti does exist.
The Yeti does exist.
The Yeti is now confirmed. The Yeti lives.
But it's a mystery of whether he indeed guards the Grail.
Yeah, well, I suspect that there's still some work to be done on the actual whereabouts of the Grail. We're pretty convinced that he guards it.
But the other thing that was a puzzle is whether the Grail does in fact hold the key to the spiritual emptiness that you feel, or is it simply approval from Mom?
I thought the two were interlinked.
The two were interlinked.
Approval from Mom, even in the face of overwhelming evidence that some should be given.
That some should be given?
None was forthcoming.
Well, actually, I think Mum did actually give you a little bit of approval on this trip.
A little bit of approval.
Well, that's a beginning.
A journey of 1,000 starts with a single step.
A journey throughout continents. So that is the mystery. That is the mystery that remains.
Oh, look, I don't know if I'll ever get approval. You know, sometimes you really need to accept defeat. That's just what it may appear to be the most important thing imaginable. It's just not achievable. Approval. I don't know if it's achievable. As you talk of the Holy Grail and you know the search for it, whether it even exists, even fulfillment through approval.
Well, a number of important things happen. One is that Rob actually did say, he did admit that the farm, the conditions on the farm were somewhat different than they are now.
Yes.
That your experiences up there were
there may have been some degree of truth to the 40-odd years of squawking that constantly fell on deaf ears. The trauma, the hardship, the suffering, by saying so, that was an extraordinary event.
the suffering.
The suffering. Now let me tell you, Dave, what I mean by suffering.
The suffering.
Clearly, they would not do it today. Clearly, they would not do it.
Well, how would you feel about if you had air conditioning, air conditioned music in the cabins of the tractors?
Well, to describe the contrast is that not only did we have to try and drive these machines with our feet and pray that we didn't get squashed by them, we also drove these things in a cloud of intense dust and ash and smoke. You've seen men come out of coal mines. Well, that's what you looked like. You were literally black.
That's like Rob matter-of-factly saying that the chemical cloud that descends over his house.
Oh my goodness. I'm like...
Oh yeah, but we probably should think about moving.
Yeah.
There's just a bit of a chemical cloud that...
Since they've been there, you know.
Since the trees, when they spray the trees,
they spray the trees.
Chemical cloud just
chemical cloud
happens to
drift across the house. Gosh.
Well, they expected you to spray with all these chemicals that had triple X mark.
Yes, I must say that in those days it was rather strange as a young teenager. I even understood what a skull and crossbones meant. Danger, poison, S7. I think there was some element of why that was on the actual bottle. These things, incredible toxic. Yeah, they'd want you to go spray them in stubbies. What's that about? The first person to wear protective clothing as a teenager, I was considered to be extremely radical. Protective clothing?
Well, do they wear that now?
Oh, well, that's a very good point.
They probably don't wear that now.
Oh, that's for women. Protective clothing.
Had stayed on the Promisland. If you had
Rob stayed on the Promisland.
no, just say Rob had taken off and you had.
Oh, Rob was much more, with his skill level,
Yeah.
he would have been much more capable of being, he would have been world-renowned now for, inventions. He'd have a penthouse in New York.
A penthouse in New York?
Yeah.
Yeah, but do you think that would have spiritually fulfilled him?
Clearly.
Clearly?
Well, maybe.
Yeah, but do you think he's more self-actualized?
Actually, I've worked out what it is. The closer you are to the Promised Land, the closer you are to spiritual enlightenment, and therefore, the more you must suffer.
So suffering is
Directly related to spiritual enlightenment. As I have not suffered, clearly, as Rob has suffered.
aha. So you were on the road to enlightenment when you were suffering.
That's exactly
and
right.
then you left the suffering.
And so
You
therefore
shortchanged the suffering.
I shortchanged the suffering.
So now you can see where Rob has.
Well,
has
we've come
ended
back
up.
and look at the suffering that started. The journey to the Promised Land.
Yeah, but you can see where Rob is compared to where you are. Clearly on a higher spiritual plane.
Clearly. I mean, clearly on a higher spiritual plane.
That's right. 40 years.
40 years.
40 years. How much suffering did you have?
10% of that.
4 years? You were on the Promised Land 4 years?
It is.
Oh, good grief.
It is hard to imagine a person could have lasted 4 years on the Promised Land. The Promised Land prison term, as I used to call it.
4 years.
Yeah.
So you were just starting to see that just starting to
the
see
light,
that
the lights were starting to come in. And in the night when I thought I could hear bats and things and eating around and crawling around in the cupboard and it was actual spiritual enlightenment.
well, that's the bats getting released from your psyche.
Like Batman.
No, well,
Yeah.
He went on a journey.
Yeah, and to free himself of the demons that haunt him.
So you were just in the process of releasing those bats from the psyche.
Oh yeah, and whatever else was crawling around.
The creepy crawly things.
The creepy crawly things that used to make me wake up. And I used to pretend that that cats would leap up off my bed, grab the evil spirit from the air, and drop down and show me that they had saved me from eternal damnation.
But that actually did happen.
Yeah. Yeah.